I have discovered something interesting about greens. Since I do a lot of color mixing to make customized extra colors for my PDFs that I share with clients, I have done my fair share of green mixing. Of course, in my training, I also had experience with mixing paint. So something interesting, I was noticing that even in some of the, so I'm a bright spring, when I mix color, I realized that, I realized a while ago now that to get a green even like this, you have to add a little bit of gray or black to it. But for brights and for the clear types, it's not actually as bad as if you were mixing, because any sort of gray or black mixed into literally any other color that's not a neutral, that doesn't occur in me naturally, it shows on my skin right away. So this still is, it's not, there's definitely more clear of a green for me, but it's still okay in comparison where like I can't handle almost any other hue muted except something like a neutral color. So basically, because in the hue spectrum, it goes from a yellow to a yellow green to a cyan and then to blue, and that's when it starts getting a little bit lower in value, so it gets a little bit deeper at that point. But cyan is pretty light, and so it goes from lime green to cyan, and cyan actually is really nice for brights, and it can be like a cooler option for a true spring, but it's leaning a little bit more neutral. At first I had a question, I was like, well, why is this mint green have a little gray and a black in it? And so I had done research about it and like, why isn't it that bad? So I had done some research on it, and it's because the yellow green is actually where the human eye is the most sensitive to light.
According to Liang et al. 2023, the human eye is heightened. Sensitivity around the yellow-green region is explained by coupling, splitting efficiency in the cones and that wavelength band.
A slightly shaded or toned green isn't the same as a slightly shaded or toned red, because I consider myself like a little bit of a clarity meter. Like if there's anything with any gray, like even this, like I can see it, like I can see it, but I was wondering why. For warm springs, this wouldn't be as much of an issue because they need slightly softened colors, but for a bright spring, bright winter, or true spring that are fully clear, or a true winter that doesn't do well in shades, it can be a bigger deal. So it's kind of just about picking the best green there is. And that's why so many brights like chartreuse, because it can actually be the most clear and close to green because it's yellow green. But lime green can get a little too warm until it goes back to cyan, and then that gets a little bit more harmonious temperature wise. So if you're a clear type and you have been wearing a medium value green and wondering why it can cause a little bit of grayness, that's why. But temperature wise, if you're bright, you'll need to cool that green down regardless. So when it moves closer to cyan, but it's still, because of the value, will have a little bit of gray or black on in most occasions. What I noticed with brights, yellow is close enough to some people's overtones that it doesn't do much harm. So it just fills in shadows. So let's look at the green in the spring palette. So this gets a little too warm for me. But on like someone like my friend Jen, who has a fully warm undertone, it's good for her. So do you see how I'm getting a little sallow? I noticed that with brights, and I clear up here, I look like normal skin here. And then like a little bit too much yellow light on me here. But I noticed that with brights, it's not as harsh as it is for like an opaque person, because just of how our skin behaves, it bounces off, but the sallowness isn't as obvious as on an opaque person, which of course, brights are going to be more neutral anyway, but I have noticed that. So here I go a little bit sallow but this is my brightest green, like more of like the true green. And then I clear up here. So this is, even though this is a little bit cooler, well, this is which should be more close, it's closer to neutral, but because the human eye is so sensitive to green, this is still okay, whereas if this was a red with some gray in it or a blue with some gray in it, it would be absolutely horrible on me. So this is the green from my bright extenders. And it has a little bit more depth. So they're both good. This has a little bit more brightness, so I prefer this one, but because this is a little bit more black. Yeah. Let me show you an example with like blues and how I can't handle any bit of gray with the blues. I clear up here. The gray. I'm draining of all my color here because this has gray in it. And this is a blue from my palette. So here is the clear blue.
Versus the more muted summer blue.
But the clarity is there. This one's actually more green, but it's still more soft. This is more blue-green. But it's getting like more shadowy because of the gray in here. So even though it's more neutral, I'm still do better with the clearer one. Like that does absolutely nothing because it's softer, even though it's warmer. I mean, I love the clarity on this though, but it's a little too cold. But I love it. I think I have a better blue. My hair's a menace because it's really never gonna look right until all the dyed stuff grows out, because like sometimes it looks like super light brown in certain lighting. And then sometimes it looks literally black. Okay, so here is a more yellowed. And then this is a really clear. So I'm a bright spring, but I do think that I'm closer to neutral. So some of the stuff I'm going to talk about, like if you're a bright spring that's closer to true spring, it may not hit as well. Trying to keep that in mind, that certain systems have different parameters, and as long as, and really the important thing is following the references from the system that you were analyzed in, because those are the ones that you were tested against, and how it will serve you best. You know, like certain concepts I talk about might still like hit home, but some of the references that I use and the colors that I use could be a little bit cool for a bright spring that's closer to true spring. I think I'm a little bit, I'm closer to neutral, if I'm going to be honest with myself. Yeah. Like I need a little spring so I don't look like a vampire though. Because vampires are cute, but I can't pull it off completely. I'm a little too delicate. So if lime green makes you go a little sallow, but you need clarity, then try emerald, mint, or cyan.